you drop them right in the middle of the Horus Heresy, you're like, whoa, hang on a minute.
Why does this guy have wings?
Yeah.
why is he like 20 foot tall?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Yeah. I think a little tabard you can have, or
cape.
groin cape, as we'll call it from now on.
Golden groin cape. Okay. We should get one of them too.
Yeah.
Again, we'll share one. I'm gonna get him. I'll play him. This sounds good.
No, he's in. No, Jack.
Oh, sorry. How dare I? How dare I?
How dare you assume that a mini could be used in your games? Yeah.
No. Hi everyone, and welcome to Warhammer. We're your hosts, Jack
And Dan.
Today we're going to be looking at who could we see in the upcoming live-action TV series with Henry Cavill.
Yes, casting Henry Cavill's 40k show on Amazon.
Warhammer's casting couch upcoming right now. But yeah, I guess we kind of want to discuss it to kind of see who was coming, because obviously, you know, the big head honcho himself, Henry's going to be in it, so it'll be interesting to see who we pick.
Yes, but first let's dive into a little bit of news. We're back on the model release train again after a week off last week, so largely a week off.
Yeah.
First up, meat's back on the menu with the new Kroot Trail Shaper.
Looks good.
It's a lovely sculpt, this one, but the reason that I absolutely love it is he's actually carrying like a hunk of Imperial man flesh on his belt hook, on his axe.
And I love the little detail that they've done, just so you know, this is Imperial as well.
Yeah, they've put, like, you can see there's like this slab of flesh. It looks like a piece of pork belly. And then it's got half an Imperial Aquila tattoo on it.
Yeah. It looks
so it's like he's took it off this guy's back or something.
Briefly mentioned it before. Do you reckon that's like a decal or hand painted?
I think it's freehand.
Yeah.
I think someone's showing
good.
off with a bit of freehand.
You reckon?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously they've got phenomenal painters, but even look at the shading on the meat. Like the guy, whoever painted this,
knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
but it wasn't us or anything. It wasn't just contrast getting through that one.
That
actually takes a bit of freehand.
That's not a slap chop job, is it?
No. Hey, we'll put it. I like it.
But yeah, I love these little details that kind of enrich the lore and the models. You know, they tell a story. These are the kind of things that we like to see in 40k.
Definitely.
Also, they've actually got some reasonable rules. So they've got Scout Ambush, so you can redeploy this guy, the unit that this guy leads, and another unit you can redeploy after you've rolled off the first turn.
Ooh, right, okay.
And they've also, this is extra handy for Kroot, because all Kroot units have got Scout 7, so they can, once they've deployed, they can move 7 inches.
7 inches is quite a lot.
It's decent,
I mean, Necron's only 5 now, so it's really small. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So,
and they've also got this ability which Stu Black absolutely loves in 10th edition, which is if a unit moves within 9 inches of you during its movement phase, you can then move D6 inches in any direction.
That's always really handy to get, isn't it? Just kind of like, kind of gotcha kind of moment to be like, right, well, I'm out of here. This does not look fun.
Yeah, it's all part of his plan to keep melee awful. Well, not awful.
Awful again.
Yeah, he's making melee awful again. Yeah, make it great against you. But yeah, it's a nice little ability, and
it is. Yeah,
we are seeing it crop up a little bit more.
Very nice.
But yeah, it's a nice model, and Orc players also got a bit of love while we're still on the Xenos tip.
Is it love, or is it like, well,
it's a little bit of love, yes. With conditions,
T's and C's apply. So, kind of what we're talking about. Do you want to discuss that, because you know all about it?
So this starts off with, it's called Da Big Daka, which is a new Black Library novel from Mike Brooks, who's famous for writing some good novels about the orcs.
Yeah,
and it continues the story of the Bad Moon's war boss, who's called, I'm going to get this. Let's see if we can get this right first time. Ufthak Blackhawk.
I'll take it. I'm not confident enough to question you on that, so I'll take it.
Me neither.
Is it winner?
But yeah, to celebrate the book, GW launched an Orc book club, so they brought together all of the previous books.
Bunch of people who can't read.
Exactly. Yeah,
bunch of Orc players.
But yeah, so you can get all, if you like greenskins, you can get all the good bits in one place. There's some books in there. I think there's one called Prophet of the War about Gazgul, which is really good.
I've heard that one's really good.
Yeah. And at the same time, they launched a brand new mini for Black Hawk. But this is where the wheels come off here. So it's limited edition, and it's only available. I think you can pre-order it now up until the 24th of Feb, and then orders close on the 26th of Feb.
Right.
It is plastic. It's not fine cast, which is one tick in the box. But they've said if they get more orders than they've got stock, then you will have to wait 180 days for delivery. So you give them your £27.50, and then you have to wait 6 months to get your mini.
It's not great. Like,
no, well, it gets worse, Jack.
Oh God, Dan, please.
So they've also created a data sheet for him, and I was like, get in, But
we can play him straight away. This is great. I'm going to get him. I'll play him. This sounds good.
No, he's in. No, Jack.
Oh, sorry. How dare I?
How dare you assume that a mini could be used in your games? Yeah,
no.
you can
an
use
official model.
Well, you can use him in your casual games, but you can't use him in official tournament use because his data sheet is Legends data sheet.
So, and what is Legends? For people who don't know.
Yeah, that is basically what it is. So Legends is a bunch of units that are basically non-codex. I guess non-codex compliant is an easy way of saying it. So they are there to be used in your casual games if you want for a bit of fluff and excitement, etc. Which is good. Not everyone plays competitive or whatever, but you can't use them in a tournament setting because they're not balanced or whatever.
Yeah, but.
So
great. Not great stuff. Because again, it's a lovely model as well.
Oh, they've done a great job on the model.
Everyone loves the little red guys.
Yeah, they've got fantastic. He's got a fantastic squig on there. The pose is good.
Yeah,
it's really dynamic. They've done a great job on the model.
There's a cape as well. Everyone loves capes.
Everyone, yeah. It does seem like 10th is like cape hammer, doesn't it? They're definitely getting back into capes.
I'm on board.
I can
bring that back into fashion. Yeah. I'd wear a cape.
Let's wear one next episode. Not one each, just one.
Just one long one. It's like a little snuggie. It's a bit chilly in here. Snuggle up. But yes, no, again, great model. But yeah, it's a shame. That's a shame because that'll put a lot of people off.
It will. So like I just.
It's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're like, we're not gonna make more models. You're not gonna buy them. It's like, when they're buying them because you're making them a legend. So I'm gonna get them and not be able to play them.
Just if you're gonna go to the trouble of designing and sculpting and launching a model, just make him playable and make him available in the shop.
And I think all this kind of I guess not so much negativity, but criticism is because of what they've also released in the same breath. Right?
Yeah. So Games Workshop giveth and Games Workshop taketh away. So, I mean, and this is why it feels like incompetence rather than like manufactured scarcity. It doesn't feel deliberate. I think they're just struggling with outputs. They need another factory big time.
Because they've only got the one, don't they?
I think they've got three.
Oh, three.
There's three. Yeah, they're all on the same site. But I think there's three separate buildings, and I think they're looking at a fourth.
Right, got you.
But one product line that's always in abundance is Space Marines.
Space Marines,
and no surprise that they dominated the releases this week again.
They did. Now again, I mean, just for a bit of caveat, these were releases other ones from the Leviathan box set.
Yes, so most of them are the Leviathan box set, push to fit, and obviously some people don't want to buy, particularly 10 Infernus Marines because of shit.
Exactly.
So the ability to buy these units individually, particularly for existing Space Marine players, I'm all about that's fine. But they also launched a new Terminator Captain.
Yeah. With optional bits as well.
I mean, again, this isn't necessarily a bad thing because the one in the Leviathan box was push to fit, and he only had a power sword and a bolter, and that was it. So this one, you've got a variety of weapons.
Yes, we've got like the melter, right, and like the combi bolter, the combi flamer.
Yeah, I think so. He's got a. Let's have a look.
Yeah, he's got like the flamer and the bolter.
He's got gun. Yes, that's right. And you've also got choice of melee weapons as well, a relic weapon or a power fist. Relic power fist. And 2 heads, 1 helmeted, 1 not.
Yeah.
And there's something between his legs. He can have
a little cape. I didn't see that. I was like, you said that, and I was like, what are we looking at now?
Yeah, a little tabard you can have, or groin cape as we'll call it from now on.
Golden groin cape. Okay. We should get one of them too. Again, we'll share one. But yeah, it's just like I think like the main vibe that I've got with this is that again, I don't mind Space Marine releases to an extent, but when they make the Orc ones limited edition and not playable, but then they release these ones, and again, these aren't when people sit there and they're just like, oh well, these are ones that are just from the Leviathan. They've got them ready to print. All they need to do is get the mold ready and go. Well, no, because they've actually got additional weapons.
Yes.
So they've had to go through several people. I had a good list before of people, but
the Terminator Captain is the full lot. So he's been artworked and concept. He's been designed and sculpted.
That's it.
Then as I said, they've tooled up and built the mold or whatever, and actually given a dedicated production resource, boxes, all that stuff.
So all that stuff's been done.
They've gone through the whole same process as they did with that Orc War boss. I'm not going to try to say his name again. Just call him Black Hawk. That's good. But it really is disappointing.
Yeah.
That, I mean, obviously I know Marines are a volume product, but there is kind of like a circularity about that. Like Marines are always going to be the volume product if that's all you make, or make available.
Well, again, like there's like the Votan, the World Eaters.
World Eaters, yeah.
They don't have such a big release. And again, I know they've just done the big Kroot release, which is fantastic.
Yes.
That was a massive big release. But again, it's like, it just seems like whenever there's a meme about it, of course, but whenever there seems to be another release of another faction, well, Space Marines get 2 extra.
Yeah.
One comes out, Space Marines must get an additional 2 extra models or releases. So it's kind of just hold the horses.
Yeah, right? Particularly when there are production constraints, and just try and give a little bit more love to some of the other factions would be nice. I'm not 100%. Saying don't make any new Space Marines ever, but just a balance.
Balance it out,
better balance.
Just like let other people have new toys as well, basically.
I mean, one I do think be popular as an individual unit is the Ballistus Dreadnought, cute little fella that he is with his, which is a nice addition to any Space Marine list. So
everyone loves a Dreadnought, to be fair. Even I love Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Existing Space Marine players, would probably be quite glad to get their hands on those. The Phobos Lieutenant, but the other one I think that is new, if you like, is the this is a kill team release, but I think you'll see it a lot in 40k, is the Space Marine Scouts.
The Scout ones, they look pretty cool, don't they?
So we covered this a few podcasts back because they launched this kill team, and apologies, I can't remember the name of the box, but the box set was with Striking Scorpion, so the beautiful new sculpts for the Eldar, which are also and what they've done is, instead of you having to buy the whole box, you can buy these as individual boxes now, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
But they will see, you will see those in a lot of 40k lists, Space Marine lists, that those new scouts, people are crying out for those.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, that's the only release I agree with, because you don't want to go to a shop and buy a massive box set of like the terrain, the rules, 2 different kind of units of 2 different armies. You do just specifically want that kill team box. So that is a good choice.
The kill teams obviously pay a premium for them, but I do think it's worth it because the sculpts are just so good usually.
They are really nice,
the Striking Scorpion ones are really good.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. The terrain in this box, actually, as you said, was awesome. Like it was like sort of the AdMech stuff.
Yeah,
looked really nice. But if you just want to use, like, if you just want a unit to use in your 40k list, you don't want to buy the whole lot. So you can get,
exactly.
So that's good.
Yep, definitely.
So finish on a slight positive. But GW, please just give the Xenos a bit more love, or even Chaos. Like you said, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, hopefully finally get something.
But again, again, I would be really good to see. But again, make it a big variety. Like, don't just release it.
Don't do it like World Eaters. Just do 5. Yeah, you can have 5 units, and then we can't balance them properly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why can't we balance this half a codex?
Well, I've got 5 units to reduce in points, but there's only 5 of them there.
Yeah.
So make a good variety.
Yes.
Good variety of them. Yeah. Spot on. Perfect. Well, I think that's all the news covered, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing to give a shout out to is
Gambit Gaming.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. Again, they're sponsoring this little show that we're doing for those little t-shirts.
Yes, we're wearing the t-shirts. They're absolutely awesome, and there is a discount code available. You get 10% off if you use the discount code Warhammer Pod. We'll put the details in the description.
And again, that is WOR Hammer.
Yes.
Pod, not WA, because that's our channel.
Yes. If you don't know why it's called Warhammer with an O, ask us and we'll tell you.
Exactly. Well, I can tell you now, though.
No.
You're gonna ask me. But yes, check them out. Again, 10% off all your orders. Really handy, really good t-shirts. So yeah, check them out.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting, I don't think there's a Necron one yet, but as soon as there is one, I'm going to get one. I'm quite happy with the Orc one. I do like it.
Yeah, it's nice.
I think green is my colour.
Green is your colour. It brings out your eyes. It's getting on here, Dad. What's going on?
The title for this one's already written. It's the Sexually Charged Podcast, isn't it?
Well, for these actors, that's in my list. I'm telling you, I've got the hots for some of these actors. You're going to see me drooling in a second.
It's the thirsty list.
It is. Yeah. Is that not the list we're going for the day? Is it not?
Well, if mine is a thirsty list, I need to
rethink your choices in life.
I
think there's one of them there where I'm a bit like, but we'll see.
Before we dive into that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I know everybody always asks this, but for a channel that's still in its infancy and growing, it's really makes a massive difference to us. We get fantastic engagement off you guys, particularly on Instagram and YouTube. So please keep leaving those comments. But if you like what we do, share it with some of your friends, please, and let's bring them into the community.
Definitely. Sounds good to me. But yes, so I guess, obviously, as we all know, Henry Cavill is looking at making an Amazon TV series.
Yes.
In partnership with Warhammer. obviously everyone kind of knows what's kind of going on with that one, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to this. I think it'll be absolutely unreal.
So yeah, he signed up December 2022, and then there was nothing for a year.
Yeah.
And then the share price dropped. JD Games Workshop share price dipped, and then they suddenly announced this last December, like, oh yeah, it's definitely happening.
It's definitely happening again. Everyone get the hype train. It's like, I mean, the stock price was back up again, and everyone was like, let's go.
But they did say that it could take like 3 years from now. So
understandable as well, though. You know, you're
talking
about
about
time for a film.
Christmas 2026, early 2027 before we're going to get it.
Good Christmas for me. Yeah.
But that would be an amazing Christmas, isn't it?
But yeah, obviously Henry Cavill himself is a massive Warhammer fan. You know, you see it on a lot of TV, on a lot of interviews that he does.
He's a Custodes player, isn't he? And quite a good painter as well, from what I've seen on his Instagram and that.
Yeah, get those banana boys painted up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So despite the fact that he plays an awful faction, we're still excited to see the show. And I think you raised a very good question here in terms of the framing this is what will the topic be?
Well, that's it. Like,
the universe is so big.
It's so big, and there's so many different stories to tell.
Yeah.
You know, just literally a couple off the bat that I read down. You know, the Black Crusade. You know, fantastic little place. Horus Heresy, Unification Wars. You know, and then you got all those little side stories because those ones themselves are massive. So, in my opinion, they should focus on a big long-term story, and then as the crowd comes in, the ratings and such most likely, fingers crossed, hopefully go up.
Yes.
That means they can then start doing these little side stories such as like Commissar Kane, Sebastian Yarrick, or just like some sort of like Imperial Guard world that are defending them from some sort of Xenos or chaos and cultist invasion. I think any of them could really be pulled off.
Yeah, I think that you've got a fantastic list there. And my thinking is that I would like to keep it reasonably simple, to kind of ease noobs into the 40k universe. Yeah. Like if you drop them right in the middle of the Horus Heresy, like, whoa, hang on a minute.
Why does this guy have wings?
Yeah.
why is he like 20 foot tall? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
I'm
also overthinking it because I'm like, it's interesting.
I'd love to see. I mean, the Horus Heresy could be a phenomenal. It could be better than Game of Thrones. It could be like a genre-defining, once-in-a-generation TV show. Yeah. But it needs to be done properly and with a massive budget and all of that.
It does.
Not saying that this would, that they couldn't do it, but I think the likelihood is because 40k is niche, I don't think they're going to give it the same like big licks that Amazon gave Lord of the Rings, for example, because they put an awful lot of money behind that. I mean, a lot of it actually.
But I think a lot of that money was for the future series kind of thing.
They paid for the rights up front for everything, didn't they? Which cost a lot of money.
Which they didn't get the full rights to it, which kind of held them back to a lot of degree.
I mean, they got done there. I mean, we're not a Lord of the Rings podcast, but they got mugged because they paid an awful lot of money for not very much IP.
No, they did not. Some of the things they weren't allowed to say or do. It was like, what's the point? So I'm very much glad that kind of like Henry is behind the entirety of it, and he'll have the backing. I hope they'll have the backing. There's going
to be a negotiation process about what they can and can't do because GW is very protective of its IP because rightly so. That's what it is.
But then that reflects with Henry. He was pretty much fired from The Witcher because he was like literally what I heard stories of him walking around set being like with the book, being like, we should say this because this is what
on
they
page
said
227.
Exactly. And then I think the directors were like, "Can you go away?" Like, but Henry's like, "I'm
get lost, nerd."
Exactly. What do you think you're doing here? But again, like I think he also has the interest of protecting the IP because he loves it. Exactly, he loves it. He knows it, and he knows how good it is, and it already has this massive industry. Yes. So you don't need to make something different. You need to make what's there.
Yeah, there is enough richness in there, and I think a couple of the ideas that you had of starting something like Caiaphas Cain or Yarrick's maybe a bit more epic, but Caiaphas Cain in particular, a lot of those stories.
How dare you say that, by the way? Caiaphas Cain is unreal.
I'm not saying it's not great, but it's a different vibe, isn't it?
It certainly is. We'll get into
a bit like Eisenhorn would be another one. Like those ones,
Eisenhorn books,
Your Caiaphas Cain and Eisenhorn, you could probably tell those stories, and they would enable you to start from 40k from a human perspective, really. Yeah. And then that would build the foundations, and then you can kind of broaden it out to bring in Chaos and Xenos and stuff like further down the line.
The Space Marine kind of people coming in. And
yeah.
You're like, obviously, you're so used to seeing like humans and such, and see this massive angel, and everyone's like, "Oh."
And it's a bit that comes back to the Horus Heresy thing. It's like if you start with Space Marines, it's like, well, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Actually,
the story, the art stories of the Heresy and the whole arc altogether are absolutely fantastic. Yeah. But I think if you start from human centric and then kind of build the universe up from there.
Again, like, you know, Imperial worlds being invaded, you kind of worry, you know, you where from the perspective of an Imperial guard, everything looks like nothing, and then like the clouds part in the sky, drop pods, coming down, and you're like, oh, what's going on? What as a viewer, you're like, what's going on? But like, you start seeing all the Imperial guard people starting to get a bit more, you know, energetic, happy. Commissars start, you know, not shooting as many people anymore. They're like, Space Marines are we're saved. So yeah, that's really looking forward. And one thing I wanted to mention, going back towards like The Witcher and kind of protecting the IP, another recent TV show that's just came out, which I'm a massive fan of, but not of the TV series, is Halo at the minute.
Oh yeah.
So Halo fell in a very bad trap of basically not following the source material, and the people were like, well, no, we're going to make our own story and we're going to do what we think's right. But everyone was screaming, being like, no, like, you know, this Halo is built up Microsoft to be almost what it is now with the Xbox, and the IP itself has sold so many units. You don't need to change what's there, because what's there is absolute gold. And it's funny because they've changed it and it's doing awful. You know, I don't know how it's got greenlit for a season 2. Now they have made some changes to season 2 to make it slightly better, but again, it was just such a car crash start. It's hard to recover that. And
you have to bring your, like, if it's an existing IP like Halo or 40k, you have to bring your existing audience with you, and use them as the bedrock on which to grow it out to a wider audience. So you take something that's a niche but really well loved by those people, and then find a way to grow that love, you know, to a wider audience to make it a commercial success.
True.
And that is like Witcher season 2. They didn't do. They really dropped the ball there. Halo, they've done it, and having Cavill on board, like you said, I think he'll do right by the IP.
Yeah, I reckon
and
so.
That should, if they don't mess with it, that should ensure success, I think.
I reckon so. And I think the flip side to that as well is the fans need to kind of maybe give them space to kind of develop and make this thing, because, you know, cancel culture is definitely a thing that's out there.
Yes.
And I think everyone needs to, like, when we start seeing the early doors of like maybe screenshots,
announcing the casting and that,
kind of take it with a pinch of salt. You know, don't think, this person, they're so bad, they're not going to portray that character well. Let's give it time. Let's see it first. If you start building up that negativity train, it's then going to just steamroll into the show, and you're going to have this negative thoughts as you go in. Keep your mind open to it.
Yes, that's a really good idea. Yes, really good point. I mean,
there is two sides to it.
And I mean, you talked about that live action bringing in a new audience. I mean, if they do it right, then this could propel 40k into a whole new stratosphere. You know,
absolutely, yeah. New merch. I mean, because we all love. You know, I mean, obviously they just released the bolt. What's it called? Bolt gun. Bolt gun.
Yeah.
No. Is it the TV show? Or the animated series, what was it called?
Oh yeah,
Hammer and Bolter.
Hammer and Bolter.
Yeah. You know, that came out again. It got better as the season, as the episodes went on. Yeah, and I think everyone kind of likes the ideas of like seeing these characters portrayed on the TV.
Yes.
So I think that was kind of like a nice little dabble into what we could potentially see in the future.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah.
So again, bringing in these, and unfortunately, they hid it behind a paywall of their own website, which again I don't agree with.
No.
However, they've now gone on Amazon. Obviously, Amazon's accessible to a lot of a new audience. So I think done right, and it's on the right platform, because I think Amazon allow a lot more than what Netflix allow.
Yes.
You know, there's like episodes like The Boys, that's out there. Invincible, quite gory when it comes to certain things. So I think Amazon's going to allow Games Workshop to get away with a lot of gory stuff.
It's the best platform, as you said. They're happy to produce, put this in the right terms, adult content, but not, if you know what I mean.
The other adult content,
content for grown-ups, not adult content. But also they've.
That still sounds bad, by the way. That's not good.
Definitely calling this one the Sexually Charged Podcast. But they've got. They've also got absolutely bottomless pockets. You know, they're sat on fortune, so they can afford. I don't think, because they've got the fingers a little bit burned with Lord of the Rings. Maybe I think I would love it to have that kind of budget, but I wouldn't mind if it as long as the writing and is quality to start with. Yeah, I think you can start from a smaller scale, and then just build it up.
Yeah, I think it's really just going to be the set designs that's going to be one of the big ones, because the world building of Warhammer, you see obviously these massive fortresses being built in like these spaceships that are basically mini cities. Yeah, and like citadels being flying in the air. I think they're going to really heavily depend on that aspect of it being good.
Yes,
that's where the money will. Not all the money will go, but you can kind of see that's where the
you
money
need
will
to
go.
you need to get those bits right, absolutely.
Yeah,
and then
just to make it look
there
good.
will be obviously action sequences because it's sci-fi. They will have to rely on some CGI. All that stuff costs money, doesn't it? But generally speaking, I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because again, we see these TV shows like again mentioned like the Halo, the Witcher, firing out at Henry for getting too involved. I get worried. Everyone always like. I mean, the new Avatar is actually coming out as well. The live action Avatar, Last Avatar.
Last Airbender.
Airbender. Now I'm a massive fan of that. As a
the
kid,
cartoon series is phenomenal,
absolutely fantastic. And they bring that live action. We know what that first film was like, and also any other nerds out there for Dragon Ball Z when that film came out. Yeah. I got shivers in my spine whenever I hear live action. I'm like, oh.
Hollywood has a very patchy record of doing live action versions of comics and anime and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, basically nerd stuff.
Yeah,
it is a bit.
They just can't nail it.
It's because they like you absolutely got this right earlier on. Is when you said like they can't leave it alone. So in The Witcher. The source material is quite good, and you could have tweaked it. And they actually, because they were so focused on adding their spin to it, they made it worse.
They did.
That was, that's the reality of it. I'm not someone that's massively precious about the lore and the canon in the sense that any adaptation, the clue is in the word. Like it's an adaptation. It's not going to be a word for word copy.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings is not a faithful copy of the book.
The ending.
The ending. There's no Tom. Where's Tom Bombadil? There's no Tom.
Well, exactly. There's loads of those.
There's loads of things that are not in the book. Again, not in the film.
Exactly. And again, it's you just got to
you
pick your moments. Pick what's right. If it doesn't fit right on a live action, that's fine.
Yeah,
make it better.
Yeah,
do something different.
So those are fine, but massive changes to the plots is what's not necessary. If there's bits of them that you can if you can form two characters into one, or you can take out a whole sequence like. Famously, the banqueting scene in Dune Part 1 got ended up on the cutting room floor, which is one of the favorite. It's a great scene in the book, and it like we saw some stills of it before the film came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great." But it wasn't, and it's not in the movie.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's but those are examples. But as much as I love the banqueting scene in the book, and I would have liked to have seen it on the screen, it's not necessary. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of pruning of the story is fine.
Yeah.
But what we don't want to see is them is them taking it in a totally new direction when they don't need to.
Exactly.
We don't care that we know how the story ends. We want the telling of the story is the important bit.
It is. It's the journey and the friendship we make along the way. We will defeat Horus with kindness and friendship. That's how all anime is going. That's all it needs to be. All right. But when do you think we'll hear more news about it? Because we'll keep hearing little drabbles, little things here and there. But I want to meet it. I want to get my teeth into and talk about.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Amazon typically won't start drip feeding stuff until maybe I would guess maybe a year or a year and a half before the go live date, if you like, because that's when you start the hype train. Yeah. Like anything earlier than that is kind of wasted in marketing terms. So but GW, its shareholders are deeply invested in both ways. They're obviously invested in the company, but they're deeply invested in the success of this TV series. So there will be pressure from GW to keep us updated. So whether that'll be just one or two lines in their financial reports, etc., saying this is on schedule, or if they come on,
it's not just that. It's more, more than that.
Otherwise, I think we're waiting possibly another 2 years before we start to see they start to leak casting, and maybe it's 18 months, not 2 years, because then they'll start leaking casting, and then we'll start getting onto that hype train of the behind the scenes stuff and then the actual. Teasers and trailers.
Oh, okay.
Can't wait.
I'm looking forward to it. That should be really fun.
Yes.
That should be fun. But yes, so I guess one of the main questions that we want to kind of answer then is who can you see playing? Or who can
the big C play? Yeah.
Who do you reckon Henry Cavill will be playing?
Right. Well, I
you briefly mentioned him before, right?
Yeah. So there's a few. I've got a few. I mean, there's a few options, but I think he has to be. I don't want him to be a Custodes or a Space Marine because I think it's possibly a little bit too obvious.
He said that himself, didn't he? He said he was like, well, look, like if he, picking a character is going to be really important for him to play because if you're the big E, well, you kind of know that you're going to be sat in a seat and you don't know where you might end up. It depends. And again, I guess this whole characters that we're about to pick also depend on what storyline they pick as well, right? Yeah. Henry Cavill isn't going to play the Emperor. We're going to be focusing on like Kiefer's Kin
Yes.
kind of the series
Yes.
and whatnot. So depending on what they pick will be kind of their actors. But I guess ours is just like the general. We've just picked some characters that we love.
Yes.
And we want to see these people playing it.
I mean, I think he could pull off an Eisenhorn. That's one that's been bandied about on the internet,
Yeah.
but I would love to see him do Commissar Yarrick.
You
Because
reckon?
Yarrick's one of my favourite characters in 40k.
Reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, Yarrick is an absolute unreal character, and him fighting Gazgul and whatnot would be a very funny.
Cavill's got the sort of grit and authority, and the kind of dark. He showed in the likes of The Witcher that he's got that kind of darkness, that darker side to him. That I think he could play a commissar. You know, he's one of the Imperium's most iconic characters to me. And the stuff that he gets involved in would lend itself. It would be quite large scale, because obviously most of his lore is him fighting Gazgul, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that I would love to see him try and play Commissar Yarrick. What about you?
Again, I think a commissar for sure. I've leaned towards Commissar Kane. It's the jawline. It's the jawline. Yeah. That Commissar Kane, his jawline is unreal, and Henry Cavill has one to match.
Yes, he definitely does.
Thing. So this is just me kind of just like fanboy, Henry Cavill, basically. But yeah, again, he's got the jawline for it. I just think his performance in Warriors, I don't know if anyone's seen that. It's like a UFC kind of esque fighting kind of film. I just think he has this dirty kind of grotty look to him, and I think he can pull off this. He did the grimy, dirty look well in The Witcher, and that kind of world weariness that Kane has got. Yeah. He could do that, couldn't he? Exactly. But the good thing about Commissar Kane is that he kind of flips between these two characters of like, oh, I'm protecting myself. I'm the most important person.
Yes.
To this like, oh, I need to help you. You're important kind of thing. And I think Henry has that charismatic attitude to be able to pull off both sides.
Yeah, and I mean, he's ultimately the stories are ultimately comedies, like sometimes quite dark comedies, but I think he's got the comic acting ability to do that as well, like you say. Yeah, you convinced me on that one, actually.
I just think it's the way he perceives himself and the way he kind of just portrays himself on all the shows. I think he'd be very good cast for that one.
Yeah.
Now, dive straight into another kind of character that I've mentioned is to go with Kiefer's Kane is Ferric Jurgen, I think that's how you pronounce the first name.
Yes, he's like the Baldric to Kane's Blackadder.
Exactly. So he's
who would you have for him then?
Oh, again, another eye candy for me, unfortunately. It's got to be Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Again, I just think oh, sorry, I mentioned, I got confused. Henry Cavill, I said he was in Warriors. He's not in Warriors. It's Tom Hardy who's in Warriors.
Yeah, he's in Witcher. Tom Hardy was in Warriors.
Yes, my mistake on that one.
That's all right.
I was getting too excited. I was thinking about the jawline and such. I was like, ooh, who's that? But yes, no, Tom Hardy is the one in Warriors. Apologies for that one. But again, I mean, obviously, Jurgen's meant to be this kind of grizzled, filthy kind of character who kind of everyone looks away from.
Yeah.
But I see that in Tom Hardy with like Venom, when he's like very that shy, bulky kind of guy who like no one kind of talks to, and his room's a mess and he's a mess and such, and he talks in the way he talks to himself with obviously the Venom inside of him. I think it'd be very good for a Jurgen-esque kind of person, because Jurgen has this still niceness to him. When someone's nice to him, he's quite like shy and nervous, but nice back to them back.
I'd be good at that,
But then when it comes to combat and such, he is this like this greedy, this gritty kind of person who just gets involved. So I could really see him.
I think that's perfect casting. I think I would definitely, I could definitely see that one.
Again, they should hire us for these casting.
GW,
if you need a casting people. We'll get them involved. We'll contact their agents. But yes, they're my kind of duo that I would go for.
So I've also got a duo actually. And us being Necron fans, I went for a couple of Necrons. So obviously these would be voiced. These would be the actors that voiced them. And for obviously the obvious one was Traz in the Infinite, who's a fantastic character. And I think he could be voiced by Ian McKellen, who was obviously very famous for playing Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But I think he's got, for Trazin, I want someone that can combine like wisdom, that sort of age, he needs
like a stoic kind of voice, isn't he?
But also he's got that sense of fun, which Trazin has got. He needs that. You need that comic timing as well.
You see,
I think he's got that.
When I first read that, I was a bit like, Gandalf playing Trazin. I was like, no, I couldn't see it. But now that I was like thinking about it and I slept on it, and I was like, I think he could. Again, I think I need that like that funniness kind of to come out in him a bit more than kind of when he's portraying his lines. And since he's a robot, we're not obviously going to be seeing him live action-esque kind of thing, so we are going to depend on his voice. And I think I could listen to his voice all the time. Gandalf speaking Arya all the time.
Yeah,
I can kind of get away with that.
And he has got, he's a classically trained RSC actor. He definitely has that comedy in his repertoire. He can do it. He doesn't get cast very often to do it, but he can do it. Yeah,
he's definitely experienced. I think that's a really good shout. I like it. What about the flip side then? The other partner in crime.
Well, there's only one partner for Trazyn, and that would be Orican the Diviner. Now, slightly left field choice here,
right?
But I've gone for him being voiced by Charles Dance, who did he played Tywin Lannister in the Game of Thrones series.
Again, I thought that, and I was like, I don't know. I can't see it. I don't know what it is for me. Again, I loved him in obviously in Game of Thrones. I did, but I don't know what it is. Like, because there's a TV show that he also Big Fat Quiz of the Year, where he does like those little reading of books in between. And like. I at the time when I was thinking, I was like, I don't think you could do it. I just don't think you play the voice. And I started remembering the little snippets of that he done, and I was like, no, I think he could actually. I like his voice in that. And
he's another one that gets a bit typecast as in playing sort of those villains, but it's because
that's it.
If he turns his scorn on you, like his voice, you get no armor save. He's very good at that sort.
He's got you under the covers.
Yeah, that really withering scorn. Yeah, and that's a big part of Orican's personality, because he knows that he's better than everybody else.
Exactly. That's about to say that Orican loves to kind of like get under people's skin. Yeah, and I think his voice. He'd done that when he was playing Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. Again, I think you're all convinced us on that one now. Actually, I think that would kind of get hearing his voice and him getting under Trezyn's skin and kind of them. I think even like them two actors getting on with each other. I think would
the good back and forth.
Yeah, I think they would build, especially the Orican and the Diviner. Yeah, that book. I think that would be really good to hear.
So I've got no idea how that would tie in with some other suggestions for characters. But I'd love those two characters, and if I'm writing it, I would definitely shoehorn.
If it was like the fall of Cadia, for example,
exactly.
Trezan comes at the end when he's speaking to I forgot his name, Cole.
Yes,
Bessel Cole. I think that'd be really interesting.
Belisarius Cole. Yes, he does. Yes, you're right.
Very good. I had a slightly different pick at the time for Trezan, but you've almost kind of convinced us. I went with Don Warrington.
All right.
So I just think his voice, I watched him, Hannah was showing me a bunch of his clips yesterday, and I was just like, his voice that he does, especially in interviews, he's just got this, again, mentioned it before, but this stoic voice in him that is really...
What was he in?
He's doing a TV show at the minute called... what was it called?
I don't know.
The Keeper.
All right.
Oh, that was it. So he done he was in the Doctor Who. He was the keeper in Doctor Who.
That's right. Yes, he was. Yes.
And I listened to a few of those lines yesterday, and I was like, you know what? There it is.
I know who you mean.
His voice, and then
he could definitely pull it off. You're right.
And then because he was doing like because I was watching a few TV shows where he was putting on an accent, and I was like, oh, I don't really like this accent. So stuff. But then when I started listening to some interviews that he'd done for The Keeper and just kind of general interview wise on BBC, I just liked his normal voice. I was like, oh my god, like. He could do Trezan. Perfect. Like, it's just his voice. Doesn't need to change much. And I think just again, since it's a robot, adding on that little robot-esque tune to the end of it, I think we'll just kind of nail the atmosphere.
That's a good shout actually. And I think casting people from other sci-fi shows like that is when I love that stuff, because when we're sat at home watching the show, we're all doing the Leo DiCaprio meme where we're like pointing and well, I know him.
I do want to say a very special mention is the late Alan Rickman. I thought he would have been an absolutely fantastic pick.
100%. Yeah,
he's just got that the thing that Trezan has, where he's like, if you see him in Hammer and Bolter, where he's a bit like the way he touches the obviously the Chaos people when he's like trapped them in his like Tesseract vault. He's very like playful, if you will. Yeah, and I think Alan could really. I think Alan would have really nailed that feel to him. Yes, as a character, but obviously, unfortunately, he has.
Yes, R.I.P. Great actor.
Great actor, great voice actor. Lots of good roles that he was in.
He was awesome.
Obviously, very famous for Harry Potter and being Severus Snape and such. So, very good, very good.
What's next on your list?
My list. Well, actually, no. I think that's kind of it for me, because the two that you've got, I completely agree with.
All right,
Ghazghkull Thracker.
Yes, so Ghazghkull Thracker would be voiced by Carl Urban. He proved he can do the obligatory Cockney accent when he starred in The Boys, because orcs have to have Cockney accents.
They do.
It was quite funny when I first started watching The Boys. I couldn't work out in the first couple of episodes. I'm like, is he meant to be Cockney or Australian? Wondered about a bit. But by season 2, he sort of nailed it, hadn't he?
I think
But he's got that kind of deep gruffness about him that he could do an orc, couldn't he?
He does.
And he's also his comic timing is bang on. Like he could definitely do it.
I think because again, obviously you look at Fraggle, he's just this big hunking guy.
Yes.
So primarily we are just going to see his face. And I think, Carl has that unique face to this orc to really portray that kind of stuff. Now, the only thing I was thinking about the actor who could play him would be Andy Serkis.
Oh, brilliant! Yes,
only because obviously the roles that he's done inside of like Planet of the Apes and such, where he gets really involved in the motion capture element.
Yeah,
and obviously
he could really bring Gazgul to life. Couldn't he?
And I think he could just bring like the entire orc kind of mentality alive. Like all the little Gretchen as well, because he's very good at those kind of roles. But personally, I just didn't think he had the voice for it. Whereas Cole, I believe, would absolutely nail.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Serkis' natural voice is like when he was in what was that? What was that Star Wars series that he was in? Is it Andor? Is it called? When he's in a prison.
Yes. No, it is. Yeah.
And his actual natural voice is quite deep. So maybe if he could even lower that further, he could get that same sort of gruffness as Carl Urban. But I love that idea that he could kind of, because he would bring so much personality to.
Yeah, he's got the experience for it as well to kind of really elevate the kind of orc kind of the movements and such that they've got going on.
Yeah, he's a great shout.
Yeah, very, very nice. And then a little special mention.
Yeah, right? Last one.
I love this that you put on here.
If you're going to have Gazgul, you have to have Makari, right? For those who don't know, Makari is like Gazgul's Gretchen companion.
Yeah.
So he's a little grot. And my pick for this is Danny DeVito. But this is not voiced by Danny DeVito, just actually played by Danny DeVito.
Just on his back.
Yeah.
Like, over there, boss.
Stick him in full green face.
Yeah.
And ideally, he plays him exactly like he plays Frank in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love.
Funny.
I think he's
get a green suit on him.
If you're gonna have a Makari, it's got to be Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty funny.
Definitely.
And then last of all,
again, I completely agree with this one as well.
Yeah, this is Inquisitor Greyfaxers, and I think again another iconic sort of figure from the Imperium.
Yeah.
And I think this Emily Blunt would be fantastic at this.
Yeah, she was really good in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes,
I loved her in that. Again, you mentioned very briefly off camera that she was very good at the stunt element as well.
Yeah, she's obviously an amazing actress, but like in Sicario and Edge of Tomorrow, she showed that she can do the fight scenes and all that kind of stuff as well, can't she? So
exactly. And then she was imprisoned by Trazan as well, wasn't she? She escaped.
Yes, so I'd love to see her face off with Trazin. Yeah, she was. He collected her as part of his Imperial collection and chucked her in one of his what they call Tesseract labyrinths. And then she, if I remember correctly, she actually escapes and ends up on Cadia, I think. So the
full circle.
Yeah, we come full circle with all of that Cadia stuff. All of those characters could Cadia could factor into that somewhere.
Yeah.
But I just think the siege of Cadia and like the fall of Cadia and all that is probably further down the line, like we talked about. Start a bit smaller and build up big.
Yeah.
But those are some of the people that we would love to see. If I can only pick one, it's Danny DeVito, please.
Put all of the money that we've got from Amazon in a Danny DeVito.
My other idea was to do it as like the Muppets Christmas Carol, so it's just Henry Cavill and everybody else's Muppets.
Yeah. The budget would come down, but we can get a lot more characters involved.
Can you imagine the online rage if that's what they released?
Oh, they would not be happy. No. I mean, I would laugh. I think it'd be really funny, but like them building up, but it would also be funny if they released like really cinematic, like CGI kind of just clips of like, oh, this is like the battle in space. This is the fight for Cadia, and then the TV show comes out and it's just like, oh, Muppets. It's like Muppets telling the story. Like, it's story time. That would be funny. But again, these picks that we've got, I think they're really good.
Yeah.
Most of them are not all of them obviously, but most of them are British as well.
Yes, I think we must both have a bit of a British bias, but also we do.
Crazy.
This island does produce the best actors.
That's true. But I mean, obviously, GW is a British.
It is a British company, and I just think
shouldn't limit themselves to that, obviously. But I think they will probably look at, because a lot of the characters, like obviously ones we've talked about, anyways, like the orcs and such, quite British. Trazan, quite British. Yeah, so an imperial kind of thing. I can see that it's imperial, it's officer kind of thing.
Yeah, imperial officers. You want that kind of cut glass. Yeah. Public school accent, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's but yes, we think that we've picked some good ones. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, though, let us know in the comments what you think. Who would you cast in it and why? So pick your favourite actors and favourite characters in 40k and let us know which ones you'd like to see in the series.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we'll just all have to wait and see what GW is going to announce next and hope that it's good.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.